Current Electrifying News, Episode 3. Here in Australia, prices for power are being driven down by the implementation of record renewables. However, in the states where coal is still one of the major players in power production, they've got some of the most expensive power. So let's take the state of Victoria. It's got a target of 95% renewable energy by 2035 and had a 47% share of renewables in Q4 2023, and it recorded the lowest wholesale average quarterly price at around $26 Australian per megawatt hour. Now next was South Australia, which already has just over 70% of wind and solar, has an average wholesale price of $33 Australian per megawatt hour. Tasmania has almost 100% renewables. It's got very large hydro and a growing wind portfolio, and it averaged $50 per megawatt hour. New South Wales at 54% coal and Queensland at 64% coal. That's where they mine it mostly. They were the most expensive, surprise, surprise, $66 and $68 per megawatt hour, respectively. Surely there's a lesson to be learnt here. Don't know. Rumours have started about the next gen Tesla model, the compact crossover, possibly codenamed Redwood, and it may go into production in mid-2025. Now, this is aimed at the mass market and has got a purported price tag in the region of $25,000 US. Yeah, the Tesla financial report that's just happened this week, Elon Musk did mention this, so maybe it will come to fruition next year. Who knows? Now, it was originally slated for 2020, but with everything Tesla, it takes a lot longer to get to market. Just think about the Cybertruck for a minute. Now, Musk did say that it will be built at their Texas Gigafactory, possibly to start with, but that's basically so he and the engineers who work there can fine-tune production. And whilst we're talking Tesla, earlier today they did release their Q4 and their 2023 financial report. And despite the fact that it was pretty close to expectations, the market reacted in the way it always does, with the share price plummeting. Now, I've just checked and it was at about 180 something dollars US per share. I think I might be buying some more. I'm not a financial advisor, do your own research and so on. Now, here in Australia, the new Model 3 Highland had its deliveries stopped, whilst the access to the vehicle's rear centre seat top tether restraint anchorage point was brought in line with Australian design regulations. How this got through quality control is anyone's guess. Now, the good news is that they seem to have solved the problem and deliveries should start resuming next week. And for some months, it's been expected that the Tesla Model S and X, which are not made in China, they're made in Fremont, they were to have started deliveries there in Q1 2024. Yeah, well, now that's been changed to Q2 2024. Now, the Model S sells for just under 700,000 RMB, or just under 98,000 US dollars, or up to almost 830,000 RMB, 116,000 US dollars for the plaid version. The Model X priced at 740,000 RMB, 103,500 US approximately, up to 839,000 or 117,000 for the plaid version. And of course, here in Australia, we got nothing. And to finish with Tesla, they're set to expand into South America this month, in Chile, at the Parque Arauco, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, mall in Santiago. The name Tesla Chile SPA was registered back in September last year. And they haven't limited it to cars, but it also relates to energy generation and electricity. So Tesla's going to host an event in the mall on January the 31st, and it's going to include food and drinks and opportunities to schedule a test drive. So we'll see how they're going to go in Chile. BYD has teased a new compact EV SUV called the Yuan Up. Now, being a compact SUV, it should be affordable. It's based on BYD's e-Platform 3.0, which is a platform compatible with different size models. Now, the BYD Yuan Up will be slightly bigger than the Dolphin, but it's going to have a slightly shorter wheelbase. Now, if you compare the two sizes on the figures that I've seen, it's going to be about 185 millimeters longer, 60 millimeters wider, and 105 millimeters taller than the Dolphin. But it's only going to have a wheelbase of 2620 millimeters compared to the Dolphin's 2700 millimeters. So I would expect the pricing of this to be somewhere between the Dolphin and the Yuan Plus, or the Atto 3. In the US, the food company Mars plans to put 300 electric trucks into operation across Europe by 2030. The Swedish company Einride and Mars have launched a joint project mid-January this year in Germany. Mars has already started electrifying its transport. It's got two Mercedes-Benz e-Actros 300s, 2 charging stations with 4 charging ports. Now, these electric trucks have got 3 battery packs totaling 315 kilowatt hours, which should give them enough range for about 300 kilometres with the average load. But Mars are currently using them to transport between 2 places, Vreden and Minden, which are just 91 kilometres apart. From October this year, 2024, Mars plan to switch to green energy, significantly reducing the amount of CO2 emissions. Hyundai and Kia have developed an active air skirt, or AAS, which they say makes the EV more efficient. They've calculated it cuts the drag coefficient by 0.008 on the Genesis GV60 and thus improves the range. So it's expected that it can add 3 to 4 miles or 6 to 7 kilometres in range, and the greater effect will be on the SUVs. It only activates above 50 miles an hour or 80 kilometres per hour, and it's some little vents that pop down under the front bumper. And they've included rubber on the lower part to ensure that it works at high speed, like 200 kilometers per hour, without getting too much damage. Many Chinese EV brands are expanding outside of China with sales and manufacturing. Now, one of those is Hozon Auto EV's brand Nita. Now, its newest factory will be built in Malaysia. Nita's already got some ambitious plans and wants to expand to more than 50 countries. Something like BYD, I think. Now, the Malaysian factory will be in addition to its Thailand factory, which started producing EVs late last year. And they're also building another plant in Indonesia, which should be producing around the middle of this year. And Nita said that they'd sold more than 20,000 EVs outside of China in 2023. Which is up 6 times what they sold in 2022. Now, with these being made in Thailand and Indonesia, I wonder if we'll see any in Australia. In Australia, there's the Mundrabilla Roadhouse on the Air Highway, and it's a petrol or gas station, as you call it in America, and it's just near the WA South Australia border. In fact, it's about halfway between the 2 most isolated cities in Australia, namely Perth and Adelaide. And it cannot provide unleaded petrol as it's about to undergo a major overhaul and upgrade. they hope to be serving petrol again by mid-year. Now, there's a nice twist in this story because you can still charge your EV there. A 22 kilowatt DC charger was installed there recently with thanks to some crowdfunding by the Australian Electric Vehicle Association, Tesla Owners Club of Australia and the Tesla Owners Club of Western Australia. And it's getting some power from solar. So all is well in EV land, not petrol. In the US and to some extent in Australia, SUVs have become bigger and taller. For instance, the General Motors Corporation Yukon Denali stands over 5 feet tall, and standing next to the front bonnet, it seems to be a bit intimidating. Now, these supersized hoods or bonnets can be very dangerous to pedestrians if they get hit. Now, a study has been published in the Economics of Transportation, and it was written by a guy called Justin Tyndall, and he has proved that they cause more deaths. He analysed data from the US pedestrian crash data with the physical measurements of the vehicle height, and he found that for every 10 centimetres, which is about 4 inches, increase in front end height, there was a 22% increase in pedestrian fatalities. And it's probably not surprising that the probability of women, children and seniors, like me, are also more strongly affected. So perhaps some people need to evaluate or reevaluate their need for a big SUV. Toyota has long said that the future is not electric, unless it's one of their hybrids, of course. Toyota chairman Akio Toyoda recently stated that no matter how much progress was made with battery electric vehicles, I think there will still only be a 30% market share. He says the remaining 70% will comprise hybrids, fuel cell, or should I say full cells, and hydrogen engines. Now, he thinks these vehicles with an engine will definitely remain. Now, only a 30% market share. Well, let's just look at China. It's already reached over 40% if you include plug-in hybrids, and just battery electric vehicles make up 26.5% of all new passenger vehicles. So they're almost at that 30%. So, Akio Toyota, do you really know what the hell you're talking about? So I think Toyota are completely disconnected from reality. And I feel that they're going to go under before the end of this decade if they don't get their arse into gear and realise what is happening. Full cell vehicles are as rare as rocking horse shit and will continue to be so, in my opinion. Akio Toyota has called the US target of 50% EVs by 2030 very difficult. Yeah, well, it would be for you, wouldn't it? You're not making any. Whilst brands like Volvo, Bentley, Cadillac and Buick have said they're going to be entirely electric by then. So, thanks very much for watching. Now, if you could do me a big favour, pretty please, click that like and subscribe button below. It will help the channel tremendously, and it costs you nothing to do so. Now, also in the comment section below, if I get round to it, which I eventually do, I'll put a list of timestamps so that you can pick out what you want to watch. And in the description below, there are some links. There's links to my Tesla referral. There's a link to the Patreon page and Ko-fi if you would like to financially help me out a little bit, pretty please. There's also a link to Stake where you can invest quite easily. If you'd like to have a look there and click on some of those links and search around, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much. And I'll see you all very soon.